Chapter 18, Exercise Behavior and Adherence. As a society, we are not exercising regularly. This lack of physical activity could be due to many reasons. Despite the physiological and psychological benefits associated with exercise, only a small percentage of children and adults participate in exercise programs regularly. So why study exercise behavior? Why is this important to us? Despite the current societal emphasis on fitness, most American adults do not exercise regularly, and only half of those who begin exercise programs continue their participation. Some of the top reasons why people exercise include weight control, reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, reduction of stress and depression, enjoyment, enhancement of self-esteem, socialization, and other extras, such as cosmetically looking good or even for competition. Some of the top reasons people do not exercise include a lack of time. This is the top reason why people report not exercising. 69% of non-attending exercisers report a lack of time as a reason. Approximately 59% of non-exercisers report this as a barrier, and a lack of motivation. For many individuals, it's very easy to put other things before you. Here are some additional barriers to exercise: family obligations, being lazy or not having the willpower, not liking exercise, attempting exercise in the past but failing, lacking confidence, exercise is uncomfortable, crowds are intimidating, and I don't even know where to start. Once people start exercising, it can be difficult to maintain an exercise program. Many people find it easier to start an exercise program than to stick with it. About 50% of participants drop out of exercise programs within the first 6 months. This graph illustrates the steep decrease in exercise participation within the first 6 months. This number then levels off until approximately 18 months. There are some different reasons why people have an issue with exercise adherence, even though it's both physiologically and psychologically beneficial. These include the following. Exercise prescriptions often ignore readiness. The protocol and prescriptions are often based solely on fitness data rather than on individuals, which then ignores people's psychological readiness to exercise. Exercise prescriptions are often too restrictive and do not enhance motivation for regular exercise. Exercise prescriptions are sometimes too challenging for participants. It's not uncommon to find exercise prescriptions that are based on principles of intensity, duration, and frequency that may be above a participant's current level. And traditional exercise prescriptions do not promote self-responsibility or empower people to make long-term changes to behavior. There are some problems with exercise adherence. There is a transition from a sedentary state to exercise adoption. Why people fail to adhere to exercise prescriptions is largely unknown. There's a wide variance in reasons. The importance of self-efficacy. Those with higher self-efficacy experience lower perceptions of effort during exercise, and they also report positive affect with vigorous exercise. So how do we encourage the transition from exercise adoption to maintenance of a routine? By having participants engage in group exercises. A cohesion develops and helps to increase adherence. We can also increase accessibility. This results in an increase in the likelihood of adherence, and also addressing intrinsic motivation. Individuals with higher internal motivation are more likely to adopt and maintain exercise programs as opposed to those with external motivation. Age can also be a factor. There is a moderate relationship between social physique anxiety and exercise adherence. And then there is the P factor. In order for physical activity to be meaningful, it must have a purpose. Some of the barriers to adherence. This can be found on page 439 and 440 in the text. Demographic variables. blue-collar workers typically have lower exercise adherence rates than do white-collar workers. However, increased choices can increase the adherence rates. Cognitive and personality variables. Of all the variables tested, self-efficacy and self-motivation have been found to be the most consistent predictors of physical activity. Behaviors. Early involvement in sport and physical activity should be encouraged because a positive relationship exists between childhood exercise and adult physical activity patterns. Environmental factors. Factors include the social environment, such as family and peers, the physical environment, such as the weather, time pressures, and distance from facilities, and the characteristics of the physical activity, such as the intensity and duration of the exercise bout. The social environment. Spousal support is critical to enhancing adherence rates for people in exercise programs. Spouses should be involved in orientation sessions or in parallel exercise programs. And lastly, the physical environment. Although a lack of time has been cited as a major reason for physical inactivity, home exercise equipment has not solved the inactivity problem. So why do some people who start an exercise program fail to stick with it, where others continue to make it a part of their lifestyle? Here are some theories that may help explain the answer to this question. First, the health belief model. This model suggests that the likelihood of an individual engaging in preventative health behaviors depends on the person's perception of the severity of health risks and the costs, as well as the risk of not taking action. It also depends on the individual's perception of the cost and the risk of taking action. This is a very enduring and successful model. However, it's focused on disease more so than exercise, and it does not well predict exercise behavior. Another theory is the theory of planned behavior that was established in 1986. This theory suggests that intention to perform a behavior is fundamental to exercise and best predicts exercise behavior. This model places a strong emphasis on the social attitudes towards exercise. The theory also notes that others' expectations of you may influence your exercise behavior. And this theory has been effective in explaining familial exercise patterns. If one person in the family exercises, it's more likely that others will as well. The social cognitive theory by Bandura in 1986, 1997, and 2005. This theory suggests individuals who are dissatisfied with current behavior, who have high self-efficacy, and who set exercise goals generally achieve their goals. This model has received good support from research as a singular aspect of exercise behavior. The self-determination theory is related to its influence on sport motivation and performance. This theory suggests that people are inherently motivated to feel connected to others within a group, to function effectively, and to have a personal initiative. Research shows that successful people have strong support systems. The biggest issue with most of the previous models is that they tend to focus on one moment in time. However, exercise does not occur in a vacuum. It's part of the larger scheme of life. The Transtheoretical Model proposed by Prochaska, DiClemente, and Norcross in 1992. This theory does not focus on one moment in time, as do the other theories. Rather, it argues that individuals progress through the stages of change, and that movement across stages is cylindrical rather than linear, because many people do not succeed in their efforts at establishing and maintaining lifestyle changes. This theory recommends an individualized approach for all. There are 6 stages to the Transtheoretical Model. Stage 1, pre-contemplation, also known as the couch surfer phase. Individuals do not intend to start exercising in the next 6 months. Individuals may be demoralized about their ability to change, defensive due to social pressure, or may be uninformed of the long-term consequences of their behavior. In stage 2, contemplation, During this stage, people seriously intend to exercise within the next months. They have thought of exercise and may even exercise sometimes. This stage lasts about 2 years according to research. Stage 3, preparation. People at this stage are exercising some. Not all are regular. They are sporadic exercisers. Stage 4, action. Individuals at this stage exercise regularly, but have been doing so for less than 6 months. This is the least stable stage, and it tends to correspond with the highest risk for relapse. Stage 5, maintenance. The individual has been exercising regularly for more than 6 months. Although they are likely to maintain regular exercise throughout their lifespan, boredom and loss of focus can become a problem. And finally, stage 6, termination. Once the exerciser has stayed in the terminal stage for 5 years, the individual is considered to have exited from the cycle of change, and relapse simply does not occur. This theory has some limitations, though. The theory shows that we can identify people's stages. However, proper interventions at specific stages are not clear at this time. The physical activity maintenance model was proposed in 2008. This is the only model that actually predicts adherence to an exercise routine. The key aspects of this model are goal setting, including commitment attainment and satisfaction, self-motivation or persistence in the pursuit of behavioral goals independent of any situational constraints, self-efficacy and confidence to overcome barriers and to avoid relapse, physical activity environment such as access, aesthetics or attractiveness, enjoyable scenery, as well as social support, and life stress, which could be recent life changes and/or everyday hassles. This theory provides greater depth of the explanation to the many factors involved in adherence to exercise routines. So, what keeps an individual in an exercise program? There are numerous factors. Each person is motivated by something just a little bit different. Behavior modification is the planned, systematic application of learning principles to the modification of behavior. Behavior modification approaches may have an effect on something in the physical environment that acts as a cue for habits of behavior. This is a prompt that is a clue that initiates a behavior. Prompts can be verbal, physical, or symbolic clues that initiate a behavior. We also have contracting that occurs. Another way to change exercise behavior is to have participants enter into contracts with the exercise leader. Contracts should include realistic goals, dates by which the goals should be reached, and consequences for not meeting those goals. Reinforcement approaches are either positive or negative. To increase exercise adherence, incentives or rewards can be given for staying within a program. Rewards. Besides simply charting attendance and participation records, some studies have used rewards to enhance exercise adherence and improve attendance, but it must be done on a regular basis and must persist throughout the exercise regimen. We can also give feedback. Providing progress feedback to participants can have motivational benefits. The more individualized the feedback is, the more likely it is to succeed. And we can also have our individuals self-monitor. This is where participants keep written records of their attendance and track their own progress. Goal setting and cognitive approaches. Cognitive behavioral approaches assume that internal events such as thinking have an important role on behavioral change. Exercise-related goals should be self-set rather than instructor-set, flexible rather than fixed, and time-based rather than distance-based. Our decision-making approaches. It is recommended to involve exercisers in decisions regarding program structure. We can consider a decision balance sheet. Whether to start an exercise program can often be an extremely difficult decision. A decision balance sheet can be a helpful tool. This technique allows the individual to examine the potential gains to self and losses to self associated with an exercise routine. This tool can make individuals more aware of the potential benefits and the costs associated with exercise programs. This exercise allows the individual to be an active participant in the decision-making process when committing to engaging in exercise. Social support approaches. Social support refers to an individual's favorable attitude towards someone else's involvement in an exercise program. We have social support, likely the most important factor for exercise participation. Social support can come from small groups, a buddy system, a loved one, a friend, or from other factors. There is a summary of Adherence for Improving guidelines. It looks something like this. I would highly encourage you to look at this and take it in for what it's worth. I would highly encourage you to read through the summary of Adherence for Improving guidelines. Thank you all, and I hope you had a great semester.